Hurricane Ian is pushing north towards North Carolina, leaving behind flooding in its wake. Water filling the streets of South Florida on both sides of the coast, really. It's also creeping into homes, damaging hundreds of cars as well. The WFMY News 2 weather team is looking for high winds, power outages, possible flooding in our area. So today we're joined by Christopher Cook of Alliance Insurance Services to answer your insurance related questions. So here's what we want you to do. We want you to text your questions to that number, 336-379-5775. Your questions are anonymous. You get your question answered in real time. All right, so Christopher, let's start with this. We're expecting power outages tomorrow. So if we have a claim, some kind of insurance claim, whatever it is, and there's power outages, and our insurance agent is not at his or her post answering the phone, what do we do?
Yeah, cell phones have made this so much easier. We go ahead and we store in our system, our phone and notes, whatever, how we want to do that. The phone number to the insurance carrier we have, the 1-800 number, and our policy number. We could even go ahead and have that website handy as well, but you'll be able to file claims across the country at 1-800 numbers or on the websites of all the national providers. So you could go ahead and document that information and be prepared if you need to be.
All right, so let's do that now, right? So, find your homeowners or your car insurance policy and just either take a picture of it so you've got all that number stuff and all that kind of jazz, right?
Correct, that's right.
All right, so tomorrow, if we're thinking that we're talking about power outage, flooding, that kind of thing, a lot of people are going to be like, well, I don't live in a floodplain and I don't have flooding insurance. Is insurance going to cover it when it rains so hard and it comes in my house?
Well, seepage and flooding are a whole different type of claim. What I would tell people to do is turn that claim in, but floods are specifically excluded on a homeowner's policy. Backup and water seepage is a little bit of a difficult conversation to have because more and more insurance carriers are adding that coverage. So some of your viewers probably do have some coverage for things of that nature. Many of them still do not with older policies that haven't been updated and things of that nature.
And you probably need to know that because seepage is what happens when it rains really hard like we're going to see tomorrow, and it kind of comes over the threshold and then it destroys your hardwoods or your carpet or whatever else.
Correct, that's right. And flood is typically a flood, well, not typically, always. A flood is declared by a governmental entity. So if we have a flood of such and such creek in the county that you live in declares that as a flood in your area, then that's flood damage, and floods are specifically excluded on a homeowner's policy.
Mm-hmm. And so it has to actually be called that, and you actually have to have the insurance for that. If for some reason your neighborhood just sometimes is low-lying and you get water in the house, that is not something that insurance is covering.
Typically not, that's correct.
Okay. All right, let's talk about our cars, because what happens if our car gets flooded, or what happens if a tree limb falls on our car because all the trees are whipping around tomorrow with all the wind?
Sure. Interestingly enough, flood damage is covered on an auto insurance policy if you have comprehensive coverage. I still would encourage you to park your car in a high spot if you happen to live in a low-lying area. And I'd encourage you not to park your vehicle underneath trees or large limbs as well. But if you have comprehensive coverage on your automobile policy, damage from any type of weather, including flood, would be covered on your auto policy.
Okay, and the key there is comprehensive coverage. Does everybody have comprehensive coverage?
Everybody does not, unfortunately. By state law, we have to have liability, but comp and what we call collision are both additional coverages that most folks have on newer vehicles.
Okay. All right, let's also talk about power outages and, when we've got all the food in the freezer and the refrigerator and this, that, and the other. Is that covered by insurance?
It is. In North Carolina, typically that limit's only $500. And so thankfully, our power crews, Duke Energy and the like, do a great job of getting power back on. So hopefully we don't have long outages, which, we may expect south of us. But if you were to experience a long power outage and you lost a significant amount of food, you do have up to $500 worth of coverage for those items on most of the homeowners policies in our state.
Yeah, I just got a new homeowners policy and it actually says it on there, right? So the whole power outage food thing. So I was like, okay, I guess I am covered. But it's something
Now, I
that
know.
it's worth you looking at your policy to see what you really do have covered. All right, folks, we are going to continue to take your questions when we come back. Remember, you can always text us those questions. The number right there at the bottom, 336-379-5775.